Chiamerei Marieke e Reijalt perché relaziona sullo sviluppo dei trasporti su scala regionale, utilizzo di fuel cell e tecnologia a idrogeno in Europa.
Hello.
L'ingegnere e coordinatore della HyER Bruxelles Office.
Adesso sono un po' in tramite tra le presentazioni in italiano e inglese, così potrei utilizzare un po' delle mie parole italiane che ho imparato lavorando con i colleghi italiani negli anni scorsi. Anch'io vorrei riferirmi ai giovani nella parte della sala qua, perché direi che per questa tecnologia sarete soprattutto voi che potete godere per una gran parte della sua vita una nuova tecnologia per il trasporto pubblico. Vorrei anche chiedervi di chiedermi almeno una domanda dopo la mia presentazione. Da solito in questi ambiti di seminario sono tutti un po' i tecnici che sono già coinvolti da un parto o l'altro, interessato, e so che per voi magari è una gita per capire un po' di più. Ma queste iniziative nascono adesso in tutta Europa e sono veramente le prime. E nella vostra città abbiamo un autobus che, come magari a Londra già gira nel centro città tutti i giorni, ma è ancora una nuova tecnologia molto affascinante. E vorrei anche dire che in questi sviluppi qua con i bus sono anche donne che coordinano non solo magari nelle presidenze esecutive delle autorità di trasporto, ma anche i tecnici. Il coordinatore del più grande progetto dei bus a pila combustibile all'idrogeno è una donna di Daimler che sta lavorando da 10 anni su questa tecnologia, appassionata, e ha assicurato che questi bus per la sua azienda sono già in corso in tante parti del mondo. Così, di nuovo, una domanda solo, magari di una ragazza dopo il mio intervento, mi raccomando. Adesso comincio con la mia presentazione in inglese, magari un po' di parole in italiano anche, perché mi piace questa lingua. An introduction to my association. HyER is an association of 35 regions that has been established to support the introduction of these technologies in not only transport applications, because fuel cells you can use in different stationary systems to power your buildings, your house, but also vehicles. Then a little bit about our activities, how we are doing that, why and where it should lead, and then more specifically about a bigger program in the EU that we are looking at in pushing the technology into the larger funding opportunities in the EU that are available for this. Well, this is a bit the overview. We have members in all major areas of Europe. And again, these are regions that from the start have people working in the deployment of these technologies in different sectors of energy and transport applications. Spain, Scandinavian regions, Germany, of course. Germany is a very advanced country in a lot of aspects, but especially in hydrogen and fuel cells. And I think it's a nice example in confrontation also with Italy, because people are always saying, well, of course in Germany, because there is the car industry and there is a government that is really supportive of this. But again, all these initiatives start with technicians, scientists, young graduates from universities that have a passion and find solutions for problems that we are facing in different aspects of energy and transport, and try to involve their policymakers in developing programs to make these applications commercial in a small way in the beginning, and then hopefully later on for larger markets. That's how it started in Germany. 10 years ago, the community was still very small, and only because there were industries supporting the first parts, things have been moving towards larger programs, and right now Germany has a support program that almost matches the budget of the total EU efforts in this area. Well, look at Italy. Mi manca Liguria. Sono 8 regioni italiani, mi manca Liguria. È una bellissima parte dell'Italia, e con questo bus direi cerchiamo anche l'adesione di Liguria in brevi tempi. Anche la regione di Flamingo, dove vengono i bus di Van Hol che sono qua oggi, e piccole città di nuovo in Polonia ma anche Slovenia. Well, the objectives, of course, of such an association are very straightforward. We like to coordinate activities but also harmonize the different authorization procedures for these installations. It's definitely still a new technology, and we know of the technicians and the people involved here in Italy as well, that at national level we still need a lot of support and coordination to make sure that the right authorities and officials are informed about this technology. We have demonstrated in the past projects and demonstration projects for vehicles mostly, that these technologies are feasible, that we are not looking at something that is still far away, but is coming closer with the commercialization of the first passenger vehicles, the Daimler cars, Toyota cars, that have been announced recently, starting 2014. That means we need infrastructure to get these cars fueled. We have very few refueling stations for public use in Italy, although we have very good and developed companies in Italy that could support these first infrastructures for passenger cars to get these cars to this country as well. Well, towards the EU, as this association has been set up in 2008 to support the EU funding programs for demonstrations, so to host the bus projects like the one here in Liguria and others throughout Europe, to co-finance the buses, like in this city as well, and to co-finance infrastructure. Well, what are the budgets? That's still quite limited. In the 27 regions that we surveyed in 2015, it will be an annual budget of in 2015 of around 80 million. Well, that's about 80 buses, I would say, or more or less. And these type of budgets are, of course, differentiated among the different applications. But these are the levels we are talking about now. As an association, last year we were asked by the European Commission to broaden our activities to the full range of electric mobility. When we talk about electric cars, they can be powered by fuel cells that are type of batteries fueled by hydrogen, and batteries that are fueled by electricity. Both are considered also by the European Commission as electric vehicles, and both are considered now in the development of new EU funding programs as a vehicle technology that is considered as one of the main options to substitute oil in the near future. Well, what are we doing exactly about that? As an association with all these local initiatives, including yourselves, we have a great opportunity to collect data of all these projects. How are they actually operating, these buses? They are very quiet, they are very clean. If you have a look later on, not only in the bus, but also afterwards, there's really water coming out. It's water. It's just pure water. And at the launch of the buses in London, the technical people working on the buses all toasted at the launch with water coming out of the pipe of the bus. So it's at local level, these buses are really zero emission and very clean. But how are they operating? How are they put into public transport in relation to other clean options? As regions and local authorities, we are looking at all solutions to clean up our urban transport. So HyER is working on developing an electromobility observatory for Europe together with the EU Commission. So we would like to set up at the end of this year a structure where we collect data of the first battery electric vehicles, of which there are quite a few starting also in Italy, we have seen, and also the first experiences with the fuel cell vehicles. And then the related infrastructure. We need hydrogen infrastructure for the fuel cell electric vehicles, and we need recharging infrastructure for the battery electric vehicles. Well, with all that information, we can, of course, facilitate a lot better policy making, fact-based policy making, as we call that. And indeed, HyER has now, since the 3 years of its existence, joined quite a bit of working groups at Commission level to develop new programs to integrate these technology in an accelerated pace. Well, and then last but not least, of course, when we have developed all these programs, which still takes too much time in a lot of cases, we hope to engage our members in using these programs in the best way to speed up the process at local level. I don't want to go into all the details in this. I think the most important aspect of our work at the moment is being the dissemination and communications partner in these type of projects. That's the reason why I'm here. My organization is supporting the dissemination activities of the High Velocity project, and we are involved in actually all the big vehicle demonstration projects for the reasons I mentioned before, to collect experiences, but also to discuss with the people that are using the vehicles, working on the vehicles, to find out how we could indeed make progress in a much faster pace. The last call for proposals, because the EU is still continuing this process, will be next year. Currently there's a call for proposals where there are still possibilities to develop ideas for vehicle programs, but as regions and local authorities we are already looking beyond the just project development for these technologies. We think it's time that after the demonstration of all the feasibility, the technical feasibility and potential that these technologies have. We have had quite a few bus demonstration projects over the last 8 years, that these technologies are ready to integrate, and we need larger programs at EU and national level to speed up the deployment of these vehicles. Well, some of the bus activities that are going on, as said, in Germany there are quite a few. We have been seeing a lot of new bus acquisitions, even in these more economic difficult times in Hamburg, but also Cologne. Cologne is also an example of regions working very close together with bus suppliers to develop the right buses with fuel cell technology for their fleets. The Chic project is one of the bigger projects right now that the High Velocity projects is closely linked to. In the afternoon, we have a session where we present a few more details on how the bus acquisitions and infrastructure developments and needs for bus depot adaptation to this technology will be presented. So I encourage you to join the afternoon session for this as well. We have a person from the London operations there. Indeed, also the London bus operations have been put in place by a woman. And she will be explaining not only how the buses are doing, but also a bit about the challenges you face to put these buses on the road. I talked already a bit about the observatory. We have currently launched a pilot for the data collection on the different projects with electric vehicles that are going on. Also Milan is involved in that observatory work. They are already putting in place a structure in Lombardy to monitor the first experiences. And then indeed a bit about the support framework that we are developing. I'd like to go into a bit more detail on a program that is currently being discussed in Europe. HyER has been following the infrastructure development works in Europe quite closely, not only transport but also energy. Europe has been working with a larger program to put in place the biggest infrastructure works, the tunnels and the bridges, also the waterway, the airports, the major stations, and other co-modality hubs have all been financed by this. As budgeted for 2030, we heard 1 trillion euros. So a very large program. New technologies have only been introduced with the first calls since last year. We are talking alternative fuels in Europe for a long time. We have funding programs, we have all kinds of policies to support incentives at national level, but the introduction of the infrastructure for alternative fuels is starting almost today. So if we are serious about introducing these new technologies with the first experiences here, we need to work towards a comprehensive approach to make sure that the support in those trillion euro budgets also considers, at least for a small part, the first needs for infrastructure developments. And again, the cars are coming in 2 years. The first series production of the Daimler cars starts in 2014. The buses, as you see, are already on the roads. This is not something that is happening in 20 years. It's happening now, and we need to make sure that there is a harmonized rollout, not a spot project here and a spot project there, but more comprehensive and also coordinated work between member states to make sure that this is integrated. So, HyER is working with the Commission to develop an activity, at least along longer term program lines, to make sure we create an implementation plan for hydrogen infrastructure integration along the new TEN-T corridors. Well, these infrastructure programs are now at least addressed by an umbrella instrument, a financial instrument, to Connecting Europe facility, where also energy infrastructure is being included, which is very encouraging, because electric vehicles with the need to be powered with fuel cells through hydrogen that needs to be produced from some energy source, and electricity that also needs to produce from some energy source, and preferably a low carbon energy source. We need to look at these links between transport and energy. In the white paper for transport, fortunately, for the first time this link was made, that there need to be a link with the strategic energy technology plans that the EU is developing, and the needs to power these vehicles with the clean energy that reflects the ambition of the EU of 20%. Well, transport has the biggest budget in this so-called Connecting Europe facility, but other energy infrastructure programs are of interest to this sector as well. Well, the TEN-T background and history I leave with my presentation. As we have seen, this is a long-term program. Only now this introduction of new technologies is happening. We are developing with HyER and industry and 6 member states. Unfortunately, not Italy. I'm very sorry that this did not seem to happen. The deadline is April 13, but we have 6 member states supporting this initiative to develop an implementation plan with a few pilot stations co-financed by TEN-T along the bigger corridors in Europe. It's including Sweden, it's including Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands. The Netherlands is taking the lead this time, not Germany. I'm very proud. I'm from the Netherlands. The UK, and also Belgium is being linked to these developments. Also here, the budgets are significant up to 2020, and as we speak, in the next 2 weeks, this proposal has to come together. All the details you find also on the TEN-T call. Well, this is our proposal for the TEN-T. We are looking at currently around 75 hydrogen stations. Most of them are becoming public, also because of programs and projects like this one in Liguria. We have about 100 fuel cell vehicles on the road, so it's difficult to spot them. And again, you're very lucky to have 5 in the next few months. Just run around in your own city. But the projections in 2020 are 1,000 stations in the whole of Europe. And where will they be? Which city and which region steps up to the ambition to indeed accelerate the integration of this technology? It has to be seen. But there will be 500 vehicles on the road. We will be seeing them. There will be people driving them. So if the expectations that we all have in this materialize, this is happening in a very short time span. Well, what we try to do then is connecting all these little dots. As said, there are already a lot of centers of hydrogen, the hydrogen hubs, the hydrogen hotspots, as we call it. And the idea is, with this project, to link them in an intelligent way. We are looking at installing about 5. Well, there will be 10 stations linked to the proposals, and they will be spread around the corridors to demonstrate the refueling of vehicles that can drive long distances. And long distances for a fuel cell vehicle is between 500 and 700 kilometers at the moment. So we are aiming higher. And I really, really wish you a lot of public transport use pleasure with the buses here. And I think you will start off on a good foot, because I was very impressed coming from Brussels, arriving at Imperia station, that I only needed to wait 5 minutes for the bus to come and arrive here. So yes, allora, la domanda, prego. Una sola. Sì. Chi? Nessuna domanda.
Grazie, ingegnere. Grazie, ingegnere. C'è qualcuna delle ragazze che vuole fare una domanda?
Vediamo. Sì.
L'ingegnere ci ha comunicato un grandissimo entusiasmo nella sua esposizione. Abbiamo molte speranze. E infatti i giovani probabilmente oggi non si rendono conto loro. L'ingegner Carbone vuole prendere la parola.
Allora, buongiorno, innanzitutto complimenti per la sua presentazione molto chiara che ci incoraggia nell'orientarci verso queste tecnologie a basso impatto ambientale. Ecco, volevo chiederle, chiaramente il mercato sarà regolato dal fatto che più la domanda aumenta e più l'auspicio è che il prezzo cala. Ecco, in questa fase di transizione, nell'ottica sempre dell'elettrica come trazione, come vede, cioè, che ipotesi si è fatto temporaneamente sulle soluzioni nell'ambito delle nuove generazioni degli autobus ibridi? Quindi non l'autobus idrogeno totalmente, ma una fase intermedia che preveda l'utilizzo di autobus ibridi, considerando come appunto ibrido l'elettrico e il metano piuttosto che l'elettrico e il diesel. Grazie.
È una buona domanda. Credo che siamo appena iniziato con i fornitori di bus uno studio su queste prospettive per le diverse tecnologie, ma abbiamo già fatto per i veicoli normali. 2 anni fa è stato presentato uno studio di 8 fornitori di macchine, Honda, Toyota, Opel, Daimler, erano tutti, anche i fornitori francesi che non sono ancora così entusiasti in questi ambiti dell'idrogeno, che ha dimostrato che fra 2020 e 2025 i prezzi per le tecnologie fuel cell, batterie, sia combustione normale, sono tutti uguali. Non si aspettano differenze, così fra 10-15 anni siamo tutti pari. E questo sarebbe magari la stessa cosa quando le tecnologie, e devo dire anche nell'ambito dei bus, vediamo tante attività adesso in Europa, è anche un interesse crescente nelle regioni, anche le nostre. Così per questi ambiti veicoli normali c'è fatto, e verso luglio-agosto aspettiamo l'indicazione di questo studio su bus. Grazie.
Grazie ancora, ingegnere.